Hello everyone, my name is Jack Nixon, and I'm a current junior here at Appalachian State, and am majoring in exercise science along with most of you. Up until this year, I'd never really heard about motor learning, and never thought too deeply about it. I honestly wasn't sure what to expect from this class, as I never thought too much about motor skills in general. My mother taught preschool and taught a class that was half kids with special needs and half kids with no special needs. She'd always mentioned that some kids with disabilities had slowly developing motor skills and were lagging behind their classmates in simple day-to-day tasks. She'd always mentioned how important it was for kids with disabilities to be in class with kids with no disabilities, as they were able to learn from their peers. They learned skills through watching, and it was one of the most important things of having her class split in half. Motor development shows and explains how these kids with disabilities learn, and shows the emphasis on the importance of them being able to learn with real-world applications and learn by watching their peers. There's a direct correlation in the success of motor skills in kids with disabilities and how much social interaction they receive in semi-controlled environments. In this case, school would be considered a semi-controlled environment because there is a teacher which facilitates the classroom activities, but the students have some freedom to do what they can. When I saw that there were openings in this class, Intro to Motor Behavior, I instantly had a flashback to the stories my mom would tell, and thought this class would be able to relate and allow me to understand the difficulties some of her students had and still have. My mom has told me some interesting stories, not just about her class, but about me. About how I didn't start walking until I was over 18 months old, and how I sat up for the first time on my own on my first birthday. My parents had thought that something was wrong, and I went through extensive testing just to find out that I was considered lazy. I had been developing at my own pace, which was slower than the rest of my peers. Knowing these stories now, I'm directly able to relate it to motor development, and specifically motor learning. In my eyes, motor learning is when a motor skill is taught to someone. They can be of any age, size, race, gender, or background. These skills are taught through practice, feedback, and recognition of the new motor skill. These skills can be completely new to them or something they are learning to do after an injury or an illness. After completing over this half of this class, I've realized how important motor skills and learning are for people of all ages. This semester, I have had the opportunity to be as a sports medicine internship as a student athletic trainer for the football team here at Appalachian. Each week, I am able to relate the ongoing material to hands-on experience in the rehabilitation room with the team. For athletes who had just had reconstruction surgery, I am able to see how important it is for these athletes to learn how to do certain movements. Whether it is learning to walk again after ACL surgery or learning how to efficiently move their shoulders after a labrum tear, goes to show how important motor learning is. These athletes are having to learn their football moves all over again. We think that walking is such a normal movement, one that we can all do on our own without even thinking. We take it for granted until one day you blow out your knee and suddenly can't walk. You get surgery and walking isn't as easy or as fluid as it was before your injury. This is where motor learning and development comes into a huge effect. We see this on the mountain of motor development. Athletes who are performing at the top 1% of their field get a gruesome injury that bumps them down from the skillfulness at the top all the way down past the proficiency barrier to the fundamental motor patterns. These athletes now have to endure weeks and weeks of rehabilitation and have to work their way back up to the skillfulness group over the next couple months to return to their sport. Intro to Motor Behavior has taught me the importance of being able to teach motor skills and how patients adapt to motor learning. By effectively using these strategies, it creates a better environment for athletes and allows you to create a better relationship with the patient. Creating a great relationship is one of the biggest parts to rehab, because if the patient is comfortable and can trust you, rehab goes a lot better and quicker. A goal of mine is to work with veterans who have had amputations learn to return to a normal life. I want to help in the rehabilitation process and help teach these patients how to adapt to life with prosthetic limbs. Motor learning is great for this because you are having to teach these veterans how to do everyday tasks that we take for granted. One of the biggest inspirations for this is my dad. He served 28 years in the Army and has broken his back and blown out both knees during his time serving. I remember him telling me how horrible the rehab process was with the Army and how he would rather blow out both knees again than have to go through rehab. He told me that the physical therapist that he had to go to was just bad at creating a healthy environment and just expected him to be able to walk again without any real guidance or instruction. The doctor tried to get him back to work as fast as possible and didn't care too much whether my dad was having a successful recovery or not. He expected my dad to know how to walk again, to know how to be able to move his limbs and back in ways that he knew before. He wasn't taught how to do this again. He was just expected to do it on his own. With the knowledge from this course based on motor learning and motor development as a whole, I hope to make an impact on patients and create healthy relations and environments so that the rehabilitation experience as a whole is a positive experience. No one should ever have to feel uncomfortable going through rehab, and it shouldn't be a bad experience. Rehab is there to allow the patient to recover and learn how to do certain skills again. Now that I have learned about motor learning, I can hopefully help create an environment where patients are able to come and work on their motor skills and relearning them to live a proficient life. I want to make sure that patients have the capability to learn their skills back, that the environment gives them the best odds to relearn certain skills, and make sure that they are able to work up their strength and abilities over the rehab sessions. Practice is the only way patients can be successful with motor learning and to be able to adjust to their normal lives. Some of this could even be considered motor development. Motor development is the acquisition of skills that are normal to human life. Walking is a great example of motor development, as 99% of humans acquire this skill on their own. Movements such as shooting a basketball, riding a bike, and other skills that are sports specific and not human nature are considered to be part of motor learning. But now knowing how important it is to focus on practicing movements and the motor skills, I can hopefully use this to create the best environment, which will give my patients the best chance of relearning life skills and returning to normal. Because teaching patients how to move and not just to move is one of the most important aspects of physical activity.